Today, inshallah ta'ala, I am going to explain what happens when we make dua. A lot of us, unfortunately, we lose faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Na'udhu billah. This should not be the case. We must always keep our tawakkul, our yaqeen, our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless of the outcome of our du'as, regardless of what we see after we have made our du'as, whether our problems have been removed, whether we have received what we have asked for from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a Muslim, our iman, our tawakkul, our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should strengthen second by second, day by day. It should never ever become weak. Yes, sometimes we do fall prey to shaitan, but we must keep ourselves strong and we should fight against these evils and tricks of the shayateen. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ud'uni astajib lakum. Make dua to me and I shall answer your dua. Making dua, this is not just a mere practice. Rather, this is the instruction, the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we are making dua, we are fulfilling this commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whenever we fulfill a commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we attain the rida, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must always keep this in our minds whenever we make dua, that by making dua, I am not just merely raising my hands, rather I am fulfilling a commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which can be found in the Quran al-Kareem. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam has said, whenever a person makes dua, so long as in the dua, he does not mention anything related to sin or anything related to breaking ties, breaking relations with relatives, definitely one of the three will take place. Number one, either Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant him whatever he has asked for, meaning the dua will physically come to life whilst this person is alive, and the effects will be rather quick. Like for example, if someone makes dua to Allah, Ya Allah, I have an exam, Ya Allah, I want top marks in my exam. When the person receives the results, the person has been given top marks. So this is an example of the effects of the dua being taken place and being seen in a form in this dunya. Now the second thing that could happen when we make dua, the second thing our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam has mentioned. Our Nabi has said, the dua the person has asked for, Allah has not granted. But in place of that dua, Allah has removed a calamity. Maybe what we have asked for, Allah knows that this is not good for us, and Allah has removed a calamity from our life instead. I'll give you an example. If someone asks for a fast car, but that person is a reckless driver, Allah knows this, so Allah does not grant that individual a fast car. Maybe if he were given a fast car, he may have been involved in an accident and he may have lost his life. So Allah has removed a calamity and Allah has not granted what he has asked for. This was just an example. We can also stipulate many other examples to this second mentioning of our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The third thing our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam has mentioned, our Nabi has said, Allah does not answer the dua, meaning Allah does not grant what he has asked for in this dunya. Nor does Allah remove a calamity, but instead Allah arranges rewards, hasanat, for this person in the afterlife. Our du'as are never wasted. Some people seem to think that our du'as, they are wasted. We make dua so many times and our du'as are not accepted. This, my respected brothers and sisters, is definitely not the case, because our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has made it clear to us that one of the three definitely takes place. Also in another beautiful narration, our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam mentions that on the day of judgment, on the day of Qiyamah, in the afterlife, a person would see the reward of the du'as that were not answered by Allah whilst this person was alive in the dunya. Upon seeing these rewards and these hasanat, this person would wishfully say, only if all of the du'as I made in the dunya were not answered. Subhanallah, meaning that all of the du'as that we are making, some are being answered, some are not being answered. But the ones that are not being answered, we are attaining heaps and heaps of reward in the afterlife. My brothers and sisters, whenever you make dua, be positive and never ever lose the element of tawakkul, of faith, of yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once that element has been lost, the essence of dua no longer remains. We must always be happy with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined for us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakumullahu khaira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.